Do it.
Cool.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in again to Between You, Me, and Jose, the Slims Presents podcast. I'm Chris. I'm your host for today, and I have a very special guest today. If you are a fan of the local hip-hop scene here in the Bay Area, you probably already heard of this guy. Put out a lot of awesome mixtapes, and he's doing his thing on the scene, Dregs One. Also, definitely check out his blog on Tumblr. It's just dregs1.com, right? Redirects there.
That's it.
A lot of good shit on there. He writes a lot of introspective stuff, a lot of socio-political stuff, and just, all around interesting cat. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
Thanks for coming down. Dregs has a show coming up at Slim's. That's Saturday, June 7th. And it's going to be a big show. You guys are donating some proceeds to, what's the organization?
It's POWER. That stands for People Organized to Win Employment Rights.
So there's let's start at the start, before we start getting into like issues and whatnot. Your music is very, not all of it, but a lot of it has a political side to it, a social commentary side. How did you get into music, and how did you get into music as a way to express a sort of social political belief?
Basically, I was exposed to music really early on by my parents. My dad was really into jazz and R&B. My mom is into a lot of rock and soul and stuff like that. But hip hop was kind of just the voice of my generation. And I would always write little rhymes and try to practice freestyling. I was inspired by a lot of what I heard on the radio. And then from there, I just kind of went to writing little rhymes and then freestyling with friends. But I was really introduced to hip hop through graffiti. And a lot of the friends I did graffiti with, I would also kind of rap with. And we started performing at house parties and stuff like that. And eventually just got the motivation to take it serious and started recording our own stuff, learning about production, learning about beats. I did that through a community center in the Mission called Horizons Unlimited. And then we started putting out projects and just doing our thing, like really influenced by a lot of the independent artists out here in the Bay and taking a real grassroots approach to the music. My music was always kind of introspective and there was always some type of social or political commentary, but it was more just about youthful expression, fun. But then when I went to college, I was at UC Riverside, and this was right when the economy kind of crashed in 2008 and Obama had just came in and there was a lot of change in the world. And I was learning about the Black Panthers in school. And the teacher told me that, the Black Panthers were your age. That's what she said. They were your age when they started that. And I was like, wow, like that's huge. But I looked around the room and like nobody was really tripping off that the way I was. They were kind of just not even paying attention, just on their cell phones, laptops, talking to each other. And I was like, man, like things are so bad and my generation really just doesn't seem to care. I said, I just felt compelled to really do something. And I really thought about it, like, what's the best thing I could do? What's the best tool I have? And that was music. So I mean, is one, just expressing what's been on my mind, which is a lot of this political stuff and stuff happening in the world in my own community. And then the other is just like, really using it as a tool to bring people together and to spread awareness. And that's what the show was all about too.
So you came up in San Francisco?
Yeah, born and raised.
Now I'm guessing like you knew a little bit about the Black Panthers already, just being in the Bay Area, or?
Maybe a little bit. Like, I knew who they were. I knew who
yeah.
Huey P. Newton was, but, and the basics, but just to like really get in depth into their stories and not, I was learning about all types of things. I was an ethnic studies major. So that's basically studying class and gender and race and studying oppression and the history of racism, and also the history of different cultural struggles throughout the whole world.
So what was it that made you look at, well, let me take a step back for a second, because you mentioned that you got started being influenced by stuff that you heard on the radio and stuff like that. I'm guessing this is, like late 90s, early 2000s or something?
Yeah, in the 90s.
90s shit was still, there was still some good shit out there.
Yeah.
As it sort of went on, and especially into the 2000s, you see more and more just commodified music that is, about selling shit, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was the big inspiration for you in being able to translate what you were feeling into an art form that was about more than just, what people typically associate music with in general is entertainment,
Yeah.
And, we talk a lot on this podcast, and I'm sure people are getting a little sick about the value of art in society and the power of art in any form to change people's perceptions and change people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
But coming out of a culture where shit was basically, getting dumbed down more and more every year, what made you want to go in that direction?
That's really interesting that you asked that, and then you kind of brought up that shift, because I was really young and I witnessed that shift and I kind of felt it. I kind of remember being in middle school and being like, hold on, like, what is this? And when I said like hip hop was the voice of my generation, I'm talking like elementary school. You go turn on the radio, you hear Tupac, Biggie, Ice Cube, Beastie Boys, and then a couple every now and then, some local stuff. So it was like a lot of variety. Nas, a lot, really, compared to what you hear now, it's much different.
Yeah.
But then as that shift kind of started, like it was the bling bling era, like Cash Money Records, that really influenced my generation, and it was tight. It was fun to dance to, and I liked a lot of it, but I knew there was more out there. So I kind of just it was just always in my nature to really dig. Like that's part of hip hop, is digging through the crates, digging through records. And, I don't know, when the internet came out, I was just really fascinated. Like, whoa, wait, hold on. There's good music that you're not going to hear on the radio. I'm like, let me get some more of this. So I started really early listening to a lot of internet radio, downloading a lot of stuff. And then, I've come from the era where and it's crazy now that this era is gone, but I come from the era where you go to the shop and you look through the aisles, and you might be looking for something specific, but if something catches your eye, or just, maybe I heard that name before, you pick it up and you take a chance and you take it home. You don't know what's on there.
Yeah.
But I just remember being in sixth grade and listening to Mos Def, Black on Both Sides, and just hitting my ears with the headphones and being like, whoa. So I was just inspired to dig, and the Bay Area is huge underground legends from my neighborhood even that I was juiced to find out about. So I really got deep into that, and I just learned how to dig and how to be on the under. And then through that, I saw the difference. I was like, man, these dudes do it for the love. They got heart. And then you realize man, this MTV shit is phony. So I knew from the jump, I never wanted to be an MTV type of rapper. I knew what type of music I wanted to make and what You know what I'm saying? Like how I wanted to go about putting my stuff out.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this on a previous podcast. We talked about the infamous hip hop prison industrial complex.
Yeah, that letter. Yeah.
Like, I don't. We don't need to like retread it too much, but seeing the way shit has changed just since, even since like the late 90s, where a lot of the music is more focused on promoting ignorant behavior, promoting carefree, don't think about anything too deep,
Right.
Don't aspire to too much,
Right.
If you don't have money, sell some drugs,
Right.
if you want to be a man, treat a woman like this, etc., etc. Do you, taking that infamous letter into context, like, is there something to that to you? Do you think there's like an organized effort to sort of control culture with the medium of hip hop?
No doubt. I mean, they'll do that. Like I said, I'm an ethnic studies major, so you can see through the years how they've done that to black music from the start. Any part of like really taking over a people is taking over their culture and their cultural identity. That letter might not be real, it might be, but it's like definitely plausible that went down, that there's an organized effort to diminish the quality of music, to only portray black people and other people of color as being one type of way. Most people who consume hip hop are white.
Yeah.
White suburbanites, some people who their only gateway into black culture is through this music. And racism equals capitalism equals profit. So, of course, there's people that benefit from negative stereotyping. I mean, it's so deep that we could talk forever, but
guess what? We got all the time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's just, and then, it's definitely been organized. I definitely feel like Tupac was assassinated. I feel like, there's been documentation of like hip hop police where they've tried to set up big artists and it's the same way that they've taken down, Black Panthers and other, revolutionaries. And it's real. I mean, there's definitely people who don't want the masses hearing a message that will inspire them to wake up, to inspire them to get involved. There's people that profit off of misery.
Yeah.
So that's what gets promoted.
So you think there is like a counterintelligence program focused on arts, basically? Maybe it's not just hip hop.
Yeah.
Arts in general.
No question. I mean, you can look it up. There's documentation on how people were looking into Wu-Tang, and trying to set them up. There's a hip hop police. Definitely. I feel like there's even one in San Francisco because, hip hop is part of the black community out here, and the black community is under target due to gentrification. So I think these guys, these businessmen and these politicians and these law enforcement officers all got their eyes and ears to the street, and they're invested in continuing their profits.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of, on the topic of the infamous letter, I don't know whether it's real or not. Whether what the person describes actually took place. To me, I think it's more likely than not. You know, like having been around the block a few times, having seen, some shit as an adult, and just seeing the way the world works.
Yep.
It's like, why wouldn't a motherfucker do something like that,
Well, you just reminded me too, what is 100% fact is that Viacom owns stock in private prisons.
Yeah.
Viacom owns MTV and BT. I might not have might not be saying everything right, but I'm pretty sure that's what I just found out. So, I mean, that says a lot right there. You know?
Definitely. I recommend, in addition to Dregs' blog, y'all want to check out, raprehab.com. A lot of good articles about this very subject matter and a whole lot more. But I believe they do have a few pieces tying the Viacom empire to private prisons.
Right.
And we talked on a previous episode about the Kids for Cash scandal. With the judges basically getting kickbacks to send kids and teenagers and young adults through the private prison system.
Yep.
So that's pretty much verified that people act in this manner
Yeah.
all day, every day.
Yep.
So, to think that someone might propose such a thing.
It's not far off.
Yeah.
Not a crazy idea.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But, whether the logistics of it are true or not, I think that's kind of beside the point.
Right.
But, shit like this does go down. And I think what a lot of people have a hard time understanding is that the man is real. The man is
It's very real. I mean, one of the books that really opened up my eyes is called Agents of Repression. And like I said, in college, I studied the Black Panthers, so I learned about COINTELPRO, the FBI's counterintelligence program. And it's mind-blowing that you can actually see historical documents from the FBI of them setting people up, of them giving orders to attack, of them using media contacts to slander people and to spread lies. You can see the documentation. It's not just, a whole conspiracy. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. A conspiracy just means a plan.
Yeah.
So there's definitely people planning out there. It's not a crazy thing to say.
If one of the best way that I've ever heard it put is this woman, Catherine Austin Fitts, who's she was the Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under the first Bush and Clinton, and she came in wanting to see like what's going on here, like where's all our money going. How can I track, what funds are sent through this community and how it trickles down? What happens with that money? How does it have an impact on the community that it's supposed to be helping? And she's a really interesting person for understanding the economic side of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But the way she put it once that really stuck with me was when we talk about conspiracies, if you're not involved in a conspiracy, you better get involved in one because
I like that.
Because everybody else is.
Yeah.
It's just getting together with like-minded individuals and trying to achieve a common goal.
Yep.
Is what spawns a lot of these conspiracies that end up being nefarious.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, it's just people getting together, talking about shit, and trying to figure out how they can get ahead.
Yep.
At the expense of others in a lot of instances.
And what you said, I mean, it's all about if you can just follow the paper trail, if you could just do the research, and if you really look into this stuff. Most people just get fed by the TV and by a lot of BS media sites online. If you go out and you do the research and you get involved and you do the knowledge, you'll find out a lot of scary truths, a lot of real shit.
And I think that's one of the reasons why there's such an effort to throttle this kind of creative expression, because it does have an impact on people.
Yeah, it does.
When you can take and translate something into a piece of art that someone can digest and form an attachment to, it changes their life. It changes their mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had the experience where a song has opened your mind to something that you never thought of before.
Definitely. Especially as a youth.
Yeah.
That's yep.
And a lot of people out there, they feel like shit's wrong, shit is fucked up, and they want to do something, but they don't quite know what to do. So they kind of like stand around and try and bring attention to stuff. They try and shout and tell people, yo, pay attention to this. Yo, this is serious. Hey, man, if you're not paying attention to this, then,
which is
blah,
good
blah.
too.
It's good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what's really going to change shit is, one, living it,
Right.
taking a look at your life and seeing how you're contributing to this system and how you can
Definitely.
take action to counter that, or restructure it so that you're having a positive impact.
Definitely.
And also doing something to change somebody's mind, and that doesn't involve just like trying to tell them what's up, because there's so much shit going on there. It's hard enough just living that no one's trying to hear some shit that's going to inconvenience their life.
Yeah.
But if you present something to someone where they're not really aware that that's what you're doing,
Right.
you're touching them on a different level, where you're presenting it to them in something that is like, I'm listening to a song, like I can do that while I'm working,
Right.
and holy shit, this is like, it's having an effect on me. It's changing me.
Right.
I don't know. I admire shit like that, and especially amongst, the current crop of the music industry that is so focused on the complete opposite.
Definitely.
And taking that power away from people.
Yeah.
But your upcoming show, you are doing it partially as a benefit for being able to get people jobs, and also to address the issues of displacement and gentrification in San Francisco, and I imagine the whole Bay Area as well. I live in Oakland, so to me it's really hitting home in Oakland right now. San Francisco I kind of consider a lost cause at this point, because it's just so far down the hole.
Yep.
But the reality is nothing is lost. You still have the power to make an impact, especially considering that San Francisco is such like has a high turnover rate.
Right.
You have a lot of people that are not native to San Francisco coming here all the time.
Yeah.
So every few years you got a new crop of people that are young and impressionable. So if you can start to change the tide, you can influence something, But it's so far into the hole right now. Like, what is your assessment of where San Francisco is right now in terms of displacement of residents, and specifically people of color, and how the tech economy and the government of San Francisco are acting, in ways that compromise the integrity of those communities?
I mean, it's hell. It's a hell, man. I mean, it's just like I'm having a hard time even just talking about it, just because it's just so crucial. Like, to be able to be from San Francisco and to walk down the street and then realize, a crowded street Sunday afternoon, and realize, one, you're the only person that's probably from here, and then two, the only other people of color besides you on this busy, crowded street are homeless.
Yeah.
Like that, what does that say? And I just look at my generation, like, I always thought that my friends and I were going to have nice, cool apartments and houses and, right around the way in our neighborhoods, and be able to really, live the life that we were going to grow into. I mean, my generation, people I went to high school with and people from my neighborhood, all they had to look forward to was jail, or a 9 to 5, that wasn't fulfilling. Couple people went away for school, and then a lot of people just had kids, and you can't afford to keep your kid. If you're like, imagine being 19 years old, you got a kid, you got a girlfriend or whatever. How are you going to support that and pay $2,000 for a shitty 1-bedroom?
Yeah.
That's not big enough for you.
Yeah.
So it's hell, man. I mean, it's just like, I just walked through Civic Center. I just left the Tenderloin, and just like, that's the only neighborhood. Tenderloin is in South of Market, 6th Street area, where all the residential hotels and homeless shelters are. That's the only neighborhood that's maintained its black population. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one thing, people say, well, things change and people move. And, you know, what about the Irish people used to live in the Mission and Japanese people used to live in the Fillmore? Well, it's like, dude, for one, you know, a lot of those people left willingly of their own accord into better conditions.
Right.
The Japanese people were interned in
Yeah.
World War II. You know what I'm saying? It's not just some natural thing. It's not like all the people of color just left and we're on some magical island
Right.
chilling. No, like we got the boot. They removed us, you know, and it's through gang injunctions, it's through city policy. It's no secret that they're not building any affordable housing, no public housing. How are you going to build all these condos and not one piece of public housing, you know, or develop the public housing that's here? It's all like cut and dry. Like this is all a planned procedure. Not all of it,
Right.
but most of it is all planned and it's all in coordinate. And that's kind of what this show is about, what you were saying earlier. One, I want to be able to get people in here who are like, oh, okay, I just want to go, oh, Dregs is playing at Slim's, okay, I'm there. Who don't even trip off these issues to come and get hit with the knowledge. And then not only that, you know, the people, the power, people employed to organize to win employment rights, they fight against the evictions. Like there's people out here that are doing solutions. So to get people involved in that and to take action, that's kind of my mission right now.
Well, how do you respond to people who boil it down to, well, you know, everybody has the same opportunities and, you know, people in these communities, they had their chance and, you know, if they wanted to, they could be starting up businesses and, you know, it's because they don't have the drive or they feel like entitled to shit. You know, how do you express to people that see the world in that way what's really going on?
I usually don't respond to those people because if that's your outlook, 9 times out of 10 you're lost. You know, like, and you're just gonna, no matter what I say to you, you're gonna come bounce back at me with something that's not based on facts, that's demeaning, that's insulting, and that's racist. That's racist. Because if you understand, if you don't think there's inequality in America, you're insane. You're insane to not see that some people have opportunities that other people don't. There was a girl from San Francisco who once said, you know, on one of my posts, she said, well, you know, I think more of us should get involved and get a tech job and get into this industry. That's a great idea. You know, but do you have a kid?
Right.
Do you have family members that depend on you? Do you have an old sick mother who's paying hospital bills? Have you ever been arrested? Do you have a felony on your record?
Yeah.
Do you have drug addiction in your family, or are you on drugs, or have you not had access to proper education your entire life? You know what I mean? Like, it's really easier said than done. You know, like people who say, oh, they're just lazy. You know, if you want to work, dude, these jobs don't fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
And, you know, look around. If you look around, I've been to the offices of Twitter. They got some, you know, Asian folks and some Indian folks, but predominantly it's white people.
Yeah.
And if you look at that and you think, oh boy, wow, how come there's no black people here? They must be too lazy.
Right.
You've been indoctrinated with racism. This stuff is hard to swallow for a lot of people, especially white people. But if you can kind of get outside of your own, think outside of yourself and just look at it. It's right there. If you can accept these things, that, you know, you're better off. You know what I'm saying? Forget everybody else. That's good for you, you know, just to know what's really happening out here. But usually, man, anyone who says some stuff like that, they're tripping. It's like, I'm not going to waste my time arguing with someone like that. And a lot of times, you know, someone were to say some of these things that they say to me online, if they were to approach me with that in person, I'm not going to entertain that. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's you know, I'm sort of like conflicted on both sides because I feel like on the one hand, I feel the way you do, where it's like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, this shit is obvious. But then again, it's like, you know, it's only obvious if you've lived it, you know? It's only obvious if you,
I guess so, yeah.
have,
I hear that.
You know, if you come from an environment where you aren't exposed to the reality that some people have to deal with, and you're only in to certain cultures is through corporate-owned media,
Right.
which does portray people of color in most cases as buffoons,
Right.
or as degenerates, or whatever the angle is. Then it might not be that obvious to you,
Sure.
the ways in which oppression and racism and classism have become institutionalized.
That's very true.
So on the one hand, I want to be like, man, fuck you.
Right.
But on the other hand, it's like, I can't, just the way I can't really place the blame on the kid in the hood that like doesn't have the opportunity to,
right.
To make shit happen for themselves. I can't really get down on that person for not having the opportunity to understand this shit.
No, I really appreciate you playing devil's advocate and bringing that point up, because that's good dialogue. It's true. That is true. It's conditioning. I mean, my mom is white. I catch her saying some stuff sometimes. She's not racist.
Right.
But it's like, whoa, what? Hold on. Like, you don't say that, Ma. Like, what's wrong with you? But it's because that's who she, you feel me? That's what she grew up around. But, I mean, my whole thing is, usually it's going to take more than a conversation to change someone's mind who's thinking like that. So every now and then you get someone who's open to it, but sometimes it's like, people come in with me with I know everything and you don't. Right. And this is what it is. This is the truth. You're lazy. Like straight up swearing up and down, these people are lazy. I'm not, I ignore you. But I'm, and to take some account, there is accountability in the Black community and the Latino community. We did fuck up. We did allow a lot of these things to happen. Like my generation dropped the ball there, but like I said, it's a lot of these factors, but everybody still has a choice. You can have the worst life ever. You still have choices to make. Mm-hmm. There's no excuse for certain things. So in that sense, I'm more invested into trying to empower people who are being oppressed into realizing what they're capable of doing. Right. I'd rather invest my energy into doing that than arguing with some dude from Delaware that got a master's degree from Harvard and is wondering why everybody else doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Right.
No, that's an excellent point. And I definitely think that that's, to me, that's an inspirational approach. What really bothers me is when people just complain about shit all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And, complaining is one thing. I'm not saying don't complain. Obviously, you should complain about shit. But there has to be a certain point where you understand and take ownership of the fact that you can't change anything but yourself. When it comes down to it, you might have influence over some people. You might be able to plant a seed, but the only thing you have control over is yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And, really taking ownership of that and asking yourself, how can I do something about this?
Definitely.
And I think, going out there and empowering people to be able to see outside of the narrow view of reality that, they've been prescribed. I think that, that definitely helps. That's, more so than trying to address the problem by convincing somebody that they're part of a racist system,
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard concept to teach, and it's even harder to grasp, especially if knowing or not knowing, if you've lived on the beneficial side of that coin your whole life,
Yeah. Well, I have a question that's a little bit, some people could see it as an incendiary question.
Okay.
But as a young mixed race man, there's been an argument within the Black community by certain leaders that desegregation was one of the reasons why the Black community is suffering like it is today. And I mean, I certainly see that, that it is mighty suspicious that, you know, even with how fucked up shit was pre-civil rights movement, the black community was a community.
Mm-hmm.
You could go to a black neighborhood and there were businesses there.
Mm-hmm.
People looked nice. They were dressed well. They had, you know, respect for each other. They went to work. They did what they did. It just, you know, they were still under a whole shit ton of oppression, had to deal with a lot of bullshit. But after the civil rights movement, that seemed to change drastically. And there's a lot of factors. Obviously, the war on drugs is a huge one.
Huge.
But how do you feel as a mixed race person of your generation about this potential, you know? Do you feel like it was a negative thing?
Oh yeah, that's interesting to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, you know, maybe you wouldn't exist.
Yeah, that's kind of true.
You know?
So yeah, I mean, in that sense, segregation isn't really, it was deeper than just segregation.
Right.
I mean, if you want to go there, I mean, we've been cursed since the Portuguese landed in Africa, since Alexander the Great invaded Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
Let's bring it back to that type of segregation. It's just they want to either extract free labor from black folks, or they want to exterminate us. Because the educated black man, educated Latino man that knows his roots, that understands this oppression is a threat to the system.
What's so dangerous about that, though?
Because you can understand that this shit is all a lie. You know, there's a lot of people in the black community that love Obama. You know, this broke my heart to see so many people just as soon as he went, oh, I'm voting for him.
Right.
Well, do you understand anything about his policies?
Right.
Do you even watch the news? Do you know that he's authorizing drone strikes and he's got the hunger strikes in Guantanamo Bay and his health care is kind of bogus? Do you know any of this shit? No.
Hella motherfuckers.
Yeah, it's like, you know, that's part of the lie. And it's like a lot of our leaders buy that, you know, quote unquote leaders, because it's like, look how many athletes and entertainers and politicians and even doctors and lawyers and people with wealth and influence who are black, who completely abandon their neighborhoods. And that's deeper than just segregation. That's just the lack of, that's a spiritual issue to me. That's a lack of our soul, a lack of our culture. And, it's just people just buying this dream that, you know, Martin Luther King made some speeches, we made some marches, and then everything's okay. Yeah. That's a lie. And this whole shit is a lie. America is based on a lot of lies. And, people, white and black, have been buying into that for years. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, on that topic, like with Obama, you know, it was easy to buy it the first time, you know. Yeah. That's exactly what everybody wanted to hear, you know. An educated man who was talking about shit the way you wanted to hear somebody talk about it, was actually very intelligent and spoke about things in a very rational, intelligent manner. You're like, holy fuck, is this guy real? Right. This shit might fucking happen. Yeah. This might be amazing. I
remember that feeling.
And then he got in office, and like first week, if you were paying attention, you were like, oh fuck. Yeah. I just got played. Yeah. I just got played like a fucking finely tuned violin. Like, and so, I mean, I'll admit I got fooled, you know, because I was buying what he was putting out there. Mm-hmm. Fact of the matter is, that shit was a lie. You know, he straight up did the complete opposite of everything he said he was going to do, which, you know, it's politics, but still, I mean, people invested a lot of hope in him, and not just the black community. Like, anybody, especially young people, anybody who looked around and saw just how fucked up shit was, were like, God damn, this guy might be able to change it. Yeah. And that's naive, you know, especially because we I think deep down, if you were paying attention, you knew it wasn't that easy, you know?
Yeah.
That one man, you know, especially the president.
Yeah.
The president ain't shit, you know?
No.
But in terms of someone like Obama, and we're getting into speculation here, but like, do you think that he is in on it? Or you think he's trying to do what's right?
No, he's in on it. I was that guy in '08 being like, dude, no, it's not for real. You know, and everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, dude, shut up. Like, I ain't trying to hear that. Like, what the fuck you talking about? It's Obama. I mean, how are you going to be the president of the United States, man? How you going to be the black president?
Yeah.
And you don't free Mumia. You don't address the fact that police are killing black and brown people at record numbers.
Yeah.
You don't address any of this shit. You know, with people, you know, there's that line, and you know, it seems heaven sent. We ain't ready to see a black president as Tupac. Because a real black president, and the type that black people really wanted and really need,
Right.
he would have came and flipped he would have changed the world.
Right.
And that, honestly, to change the world is going to require some huge action that's bigger than a presidential election.
Right.
I don't want to, I can't prove any of this, but I don't think that the election, there's no such thing as an election.
Yeah.
I don't buy it. I mean, when I was in 8th grade or something like that, when George Bush Jr. stole the election, and I said, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, if he stole it, then how can you trust any election? Obama is the ultimate wolves in sheep clothing, because like you're saying, everyone was like, damn, everything's screwed up. George Bush was so obviously a puppet.
Right.
You can't just put another white guy in a suit. They're like, okay, here, fine, let's let them have their little black guy and the president here. Let's give you that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not with that. I'm not with the first black astronaut, the first black da-da-da-da. It's like, yo, we were kings and queens, man, for hundreds of years. Dude, you can keep your little first black hockey player or whatever the fuck. That doesn't mean anything to
Let's
me.
talk about like the 800th black president, or like,
you know what I mean?
once the shit has gone a little bit.
Yeah, it's got to get
like,
a little further, man.
You can give him one.
Right.
But
and I wonder if that's going to, if you're going to look in the history books in 100 years and he's just going to be the one.
You know,
I don't know.
Slightly darker skinned white dude.
That shit don't mean anything to me, man. You know, president, Queen of England.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like, what? Who cares, man? They don't control anything. This country is owned by banks and corporations. And if you don't realize that, come on, man. You're probably not listening to this podcast if you don't realize that. You know what I'm saying?
True, that's true. But I mean, if shit is so, how do you put it? So deeply ingrained into this like corporatocracy, because I mean we can get into referring to things as conspiracy theories or whatever, and we can talk about, you know, all this shit that sounds crazy that has actually happened, like verifiable, you know, that like, you know, the government for sure researched for many, many years how to brainwash people.
You're right.
Like, spent a shit ton of money researching that.
Right.
You think they didn't find out? You think if they found out, they just were like, oh, cool.
Right.
Let's just put that in the filing cabinet.
Right.
Like, and that was it. You know? That shit happened back in like the 40s, 50s, 60s. And nobody's really been talking about it since then, you know?
Right.
It's like, you think that just disappeared out of their mind? Like, all of a sudden they're not interested in that anymore? So, you know, if shit is as bad as in your most paranoid mind it could be, you know, like, fuck, these motherfuckers control all the media. They potentially use brainwashing techniques to control the way people think, subliminal messagery in all kinds of media, and the ability to basically use an imperial army to enforce whatever they want. Is there any way to fix that? Or is it
Probably
is it
not.
revolution? Is it
Probably
you know?
not. Without violent revolution, that's going to lead to a lot of death, which I'm not advocating for.
Right.
But I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, I was watching Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
and they're torturing people, raping people, killing kids. I said, God damn, this shit was fucked up back
Yeah.
in medieval times. And then I thought about it, and I was like, oh wait, hold on,
Yeah.
like this shit happens right now. Once you like, people trip on me sometimes. They really don't want to hear it. They don't want me to burst the bubble. They think I'm being negative.
Yeah.
Once you understand like that these atrocities happen constantly and it's part of life and you understand it, you can accept it.
Yeah.
Like once your brain's blown, you can't really blown, you can't
Yeah.
keep blowing it up. You know what I'm saying? Like my brain has been blown.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that expression? I'm through the looking glass. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I can come to terms with it. I can accept it. I can embrace it. Negative. The struggle leads to productivity. You destroy and you rebuild, you know? Like some of my proudest moments came out of me suffering, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to accept it. I mean, you do what you can. I really, there's violent revolution, honestly, is the ultimate way to change this, but it is also small victories that can be won in the meantime. And I think if there's a way, you know, where you can influence the person in the military who's standing behind the trigger to say, no, I'm not going to shoot these protesters.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Or hold on, this guy that I've been following is a liar.
Right.
If you can influence these types of ways of thinking, that's going to lead to victory. The most we can do right now is kind of just slowly fight it off.
Right.
You know, like keep this school open. Don't let them drill here. Fight for this program. And you know what I'm saying? But as far as
take your money out of the fucking bank,
all that type of stuff,
Yeah.
all those small things, man. Don't support certain companies. You know, speak with your dollar. These things, you know, they can go a long way. But as far as the ultimates, I mean, this shit's been in motion, but since before America,
right?
You know, this is deep. It goes back hundreds of years. Some of the same bloodlines,
Yeah.
are still in power that were in power 400 years ago. So, I mean, I still uncover pieces of that going back, like I said, Egypt, Alexander the Great. This is history, and you know, it's mind blowing stuff. So it's like, nah, it's probably too much for us to really wrap around as far as solutions. But you just find victory where you can, and you accept, like I said, you just accept this negativity, man, because it's real.
I mean, do you think it's like I'll use the term Illuminati as like a catch-all for like the idea that there is an organized, concerted effort of people that sit down to accomplish an agenda.
Definitely.
Going back, you know, hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. You think that's, you know, that's going on?
The Illuminati is real. They don't call themselves the Illuminati.
Right. Yeah.
Because otherwise, no one would know what that term was. They would suppress all of that.
Right.
But yeah, man. I mean, there's rich families that own the world, and they don't own all of it, but they're trying to, you know. And they might have ties with an Arabian family or a Chinese. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I think it's definitely like that. I think it's definitely an organized attempt by people to consolidate and preserve their power, and to protect their bloodline and their interests over the rest of the world. I don't understand it. I mean, you have to think about it like it's got to be agenda, and it's got to be like really sick people to authorize the types of things that our government alone does. Yeah. To destroy our environment, to imprison our population, to kill innocent women and kids. All this stuff, you know, you're not blind. You know, they know what they're doing. It's really sick, perverse things. You know what I'm saying? You have to be a sick, psychopathic motherfucker to do this. Yeah. If you know what you're really doing, if you know, most people don't know. Like these soldiers don't know, until after they pull the trigger and it hits them, right? Yeah. But if you're sending the soldiers out to go kill this family, and that order's coming from someone who's coming from someone, that's some sick shit, man. Yeah. And it's definitely an organized attempt.
Well, I mean, people can find a way to justify just about anything, you know. Then that's the You know, I
Just about.
just about. I mean, I think I can't remember what the experiment was, but there was an experiment, probably in like the 60s or something. I'm probably totally mangling this, but the experiment was, um, they put people in separate rooms, and one person was, told to
Do the shock, right?
yeah, do the shock
yeah.
if someone answers something incorrectly or
Yep.
whatever. And they would hear the screams of the person, and they would just keep doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think it wasn't real. Like the
Right.
screams
No, it
weren't
was
actually
fake.
the person,
Yep.
but
Yep.
they thought that they were inflicting this person with pain, and they could hear it, but they still justified doing it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. And what that is something about human nature. And we're gonna get a little deep here. But since you're into ancient Egypt and stuff, I'm sure you'll be interested in this. What I think is that back in the ancient times, all the Egyptians gave a fuck about was like, what's going on? Like, what is the nature of reality?
Yep.
What are we? Who are we?
Yep.
What are we doing here? What is all this shit around us? Like, that's all that they gave a fuck about.
Knowledge.
That's all
That was their religion.
Yeah, that was their religion.
Yep.
That was their whole, that's what they focused all their energy on.
Yep.
They had, the mystery schools. They had people generations upon generations just focused on this.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, they found out.
Yeah.
They know what makes humans tick.
Mm-hmm.
They figured out exactly how we work.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that came the knowledge of how to use that to your own benefit.
Yeah.
And
yep.
how to wield power, basically. Using and do it in a way that doesn't cause the negative effects of just straight up taking it by force,
Right.
I mean, to me, that's not that crazy of a speculation to say that thousands of years ago, people obsessed with figuring out human nature figured out human
Figured
nature,
it out, yeah.
and then wanted to keep that knowledge for themselves so they could use it to their benefit.
Yeah, they did.
And they did.
Yeah. But that knowledge was kind of co-opted. It was appropriated and co-opted. They did start letting a few, I don't know if you're up on this, but they let a lot of Greeks, not a lot, but a certain number of them into the mystery schools. And those Greeks went back and kind of claimed the ideas for their own. It's documented. There's a book called Stolen Legacy where a professor traced all the evidence that Plato, Socrates, all these dudes, where their stuff was not original.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And yeah, that knowledge was appropriate, but it's like you said, they figured it out. There are certain spiritual and scientific truths, that are that's it. It's more than human nature. It's just nature.
Right.
If you look at a lot of indigenous culture throughout the world, which, I believe all of us have common ancestry in Africa, but if you look at the indigenous culture of the Mayans, or ancient Chinese philosophers, they figured it out too. They knew it. It's just like you said, it's just the science. But I believe heavily, there's positive and negative, just like an electron inside an atom. There's a negative charge and a positive charge. You can tap into the positive if you want to, or you can tap into the negative. So even if you're just saying a bunch of mumbo jumbo about the devil and you're worshiping him in your own way and it's not real, no, that's still energy that you're putting out there. Yeah.
When talking about like institutionalized racism, something that has come to the forefront, recently is the overt racism in the well, I don't know if it's even overt, but the overtly implied racism in the Donald Sterling scandal, which I have I have a little bit of a different take on it than some people do. because I listened to, I mean, I haven't listened to all the tapes because now there's like, you know,
Yeah, it's a lot.
basically everything the motherfucker said is on tape.
Yeah.
But when I listened to the initial first few tapes, I didn't hear him say that much racist shit out of his mouth.
Mm.
I don't know. I got the impression that this is a guy that came up in a racist environment for sure. Definitely had this reinforced his entire life. And maybe he doesn't feel it himself. Maybe in his mind he doesn't think black people are less than or etc. But it's really hard to escape your programming. You know, if you've been raised in an environment your entire life where your parents are constantly reinforcing racist behavior and bigotry, and your entire community reinforces it, it's hard to escape that. Even if you have a personal epiphany where you know, oh, I had a black friend and he changed my life. Now I think black people are the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
You can't go in and rewrite that programming. So I think this is a perfect example of the effects of deeply ingrained institutionalized racism, where the person themselves doesn't even think that they're racist, you know? Because you asked Donald Sterling, he would say, I'm not racist.
Yeah, but I disagree with that because
Oh, yeah?
I think he's fully aware of everything that he says and does. I mean, of course, he's not going to flat out say to his half black girlfriend, yes, I'm racist.
Right.
But as far as like, you know, there are people who grow up in racist households who do not become racist, you know, especially people that have contact with as many black people that Donald Sterling has had contact. He owns the fucking Clippers, you know.
Yeah.
I think he's not a product of institutional racism. I think he is institutional racism. He, you know, fairly evicted his black and brown tenants.
Right.
He's an employer whose most of his employees are black, but he doesn't even want his girlfriend taking pictures with them.
Right.
He also said in a comment, you mentioned you didn't hear all the conversations. There was one where he was specifically talking about Israel, and he said there's black Jews and there's other Jews, and the black Jews are 100 times inferior,
treated like dogs. You know?
Yeah, and treated like, and he basically implied that that's deserving of them. Right. You know, yeah, there's some people that just model racist behavior and their kids pick it up. And then there's other people that teach that to their kids. Look, son, this is how we eat. Yeah. We own slaves, and these slaves pick our cotton because they're stupid and because they're dumb. And here you are, we're over here feeding them, and we rescued them from Africa. Right. I mean, it's just, when I hear him speak, it's just a slave owner mentality. He's a slave owner. He owns a team of black people that he ultimately despises. You know what I'm saying? And I think there's plenty of Donald Sterlings in and outside of the NBA.
Yeah. I think that's a hard thing for people to digest in 2014. You know, we got a black president. Yeah. It's a lot of people want to believe that shit has changed.
That's just all part of the lie. It's post-racial America is a lie. It's like we were saying earlier, if you read the history books in school, well, things were unfair. People were enslaved, and, you know, that was kind of bad. Yeah. But then Martin Luther King came, and everything's all good. Nah, right. It's a lie. It's a straight up lie.
So, how do you feel about? There's two ways to look at this sort of approach that I'm going to talk about in a second. But like, there are some people who look at a situation like this and go, fuck this guy, you know, shouldn't be, we need to like basically destroy him. He shouldn't be out there saying this kind of shit. Bloody, bloody, bloody. He's evil. And then there's other people who say, yeah, he is who he is. There's gonna be motherfuckers like that. My problem is the fact that, you know, black people as a community are not doing enough to combat this, you know, like specifically talking about Homeboy Sandman's article for Gawker,
Right.
that I think the title of it is Black People Are Cowards or something like that.
All black people are cowards.
Which, and Homeboy Sandman writes a lot for the blog I mentioned earlier, Rap Rehab. Smart guy.
Yeah.
He is also a rapper. I think he's on Stone's Throw or something like that. But there's that saying like, okay, yeah, this guy's a fuck, but you know, what are we gonna do about it? You know? And then there's the flip side of that, where you have someone like Bill Cosby, who is out there essentially like chastising the entire young generation, and basically saying, you know, learn how to talk.
Yeah.
Stop being a fucking, like, you know, ignorant piece of shit. You fuck. Like, I did it. Look at me. You can do it. Stop making excuses. I don't know. To me, Bill Cosby, like,
that's that sellout shit.
Definitely.
That's that sucker shit. That's I don't know. I think he's smart enough to understand like what these kids. He's from the Philadelphia projects, but let's go to the same projects he grew up in what 1950, let's go to these projects in 2014. Bill,
different world.
Let's see if you survive that.
Yeah.
You know, you want to go around 2 and see how well you do in 2014.
Yeah.
Fuck out of here, man. I think, you know, I think, and one of my friends mentioned this too. It's like, you know, the Homeboy Sandman article, when I read it, I was 100% for it. But that title, there's a lot of that stuff like where black people beat up on other black people as part of their, activism or their statement or something. My whole thing is, it's not just on the black community. Of course, we lack enough real leaders. You know, all of our leaders are co-opted, damn near.
Right.
All of our leaders are co-opted by money or by the government or by politics, you know. But as a people, and everybody dropped the ball. I don't watch the NBA.
Yeah.
For a multiple number. I don't watch professional sports for several reasons, but I damn sure wasn't about to turn on the playoff game and watch that shit, knowing that there's a motherfucker who's racist that's making money from me watching this game.
Right.
I'm not about to go, if my boss is on TMZ talking about don't bring Magic Johnson to work, I'm not going to work the next day. I'm not about to go, well, hey, this playoff championship is more. Nah.
Yeah.
The entire country missed a huge opportunity to say, fuck this game, turn this shit off. I ain't going to the game. I'm not going to let you. I'm going to stand outside the stadium, and if you try to cross this line, we're going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're going to shut this shit down until this motherfucker is dealt with. And not just a little, you know, was it 1.5 million or whatever?
Something. Yeah.
Not just a little fine and you can't come to the game. He don't give a shit about going to the damn games. He's about his money.
Yeah.
So none of that shit. Well, let's have a solution where like, bam, you got to get the fuck out right now. We ain't going to pay you shit. You know, where you're not going to just sell the team and make it. Nah, we're going to figure out a way to really fuck you and to say to anybody, to send a message to this whole country that if you come at us like this, you're going to get fucked. We will fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just, well, that was fucked up. Anyway, let's turn on the game.
Yeah.
I was not with that.
Is there a difference in your mind though? Like the calling out of the black community, like when Homeboy Sandman does it versus Bill Cosby doing it?
I mean, who is Homeboy Sandman? You know, is he relevant to the black community? Maybe in his own,
Yeah, I
maybe
know.
in his own neighborhood in New
Right,
York.
right.
I think he's Dominican. Uh, man, I like alternative music. All different types
Yeah.
of music. I don't listen to Homeboy Sandman. No disrespect.
Right,
He's got
right.
some tight bars. He's got some cool shit. He's got his own style, very unique. These kids ain't listening to Homeboy saying, "Who are you, bruh?"
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so it's not much validity to that. It's some validity to some of the folks that, of course, there's plenty of black people that follow him and read his article. But man, we need leaders that can really speak to these youth that on their level and meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
They're not reading Gawker. You talking about all
True
black
enough.
people are cowards on Gawker? Dude. Black people don't be reading Gawker. You know what I'm saying? I don't barely know any people, period, that go on Gawker.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, man. I mean, I appreciate everything that he does as an artist and a writer. Very intelligent, very talented dude. But he don't got influence like that to really to say those types of things. And Bill Cosby don't either. Bill Cosby, you're not relevant. There's kids out here who don't know who Bill Cosby is anymore. Your
Right.
show is off the air, homie, and no one's eating Jello pops right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. I mean, that's the thing. We need leaders, man. I mean, I'm in my late 20s already. Like my teacher told me, the Black Panthers were 19, 20, and 21, straight from Oakland, living through the stuff that they were fighting against.
Yeah.
If you're not that person, then empower those people. If you want to do something, go and empower them. That's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Go to the hood and talk to them. Don't be scared. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are scared to even have conversations with these kids.
Well, I mean, that's also that's reinforcement from pretty much all media outlets reinforce this.
Yeah, to our
this
own
view.
people.
Yeah. So even if you are a upper middle class African American person with a job, living in the suburbs, totally conformist, you yourself are scared of like going into that world. You feel like that's totally different than you.
Or not even, sometimes not even about fear. It's about like, that's a lost cause, or I'm better than these niggas. They, you know what I'm saying? Like, they all I'm not messing with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get into the country club. I don't want to fuck that up. You know what I'm saying? Or it's just, it's a spiritual problem, and it's a cultural, like I said earlier, it's a cultural problem. And we have no culture. We were stripped of our culture. We don't have a homeland that's intact. You know, the Chinese community has China.
Yeah.
They have Chinese values that have been intact for thousands. We don't have that.
Right.
And that's what the American experience is us searching for that and struggling to identify who we really are. White people too. Someone told me once that white people and black people are two people who truly have no idea who they really are.
That's deep.
It is. Especially
very
since
true.
I'm mixed with both. So it's like, where does that leave
Damn,
me?
you're
Shit.
fucked, dude. No, I mean, that's true though. Like, one of the things that I've said many times on this podcast, and I'm sorry if people are listening and I'm repeating myself like a motherfucker, but this is a good one. It's a good catchphrase. It's basically the theme of this podcast is that white people destroy everything they love just by loving it. Man. You know, I think that is a side effect of not knowing who you are and not understanding your place in the world, your influence and the way shit works.
That's
you
part
know?
of it. That's also because, you know, we're talking about some really complex stuff. I already know some of your listeners probably been already like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Probably offended a few people, whatever.
It's good to get offended.
Sometimes it is. It's constructive. But the thing is like, that's American. It's American to, what'd you say? They destroy everything they love?
Yeah.
So just think of the concept of an American coming to somebody else's land, stealing it, beating them into committing genocide on them, and then dressing up like an Indian for Halloween.
Right.
That's
or beta breakers.
Yeah. That's colonizer. It's colonist mentality.
Yeah.
And right now, rap is being colonized. Rap is being gentrified. A lot of things, you know what I'm saying, that are particular to people of color have been appropriated.
Yeah.
And it's imperialism too, to just manifest destiny,
Yeah.
came, I saw, I conquered, whether that's conscious or unconscious. It's the American way.
Yeah. It's deeply ingrained too.
Yep.
And it's what we pass down. And
yeah, without knowing it sometimes.
yeah, without even knowing it.
Yeah.
And I think to me, that's the scariest thing, is that when people can't even see
That is very
the
scary.
actions of what they're, or the reaction, I guess.
And it's gonna get worse, Chris, because right now, like, I mean, they're just drowning out every voice of opposition. And if you look at, I use this example a lot, of Mayweather versus Ali. Someone who said, I'm not, no Viet Cong ever called me no nigga, to a dude who, you know, makes jokes about Pacquiao eating dogs.
Right.
And that's the message you send.
Right.
The music, you know, you go from having Bob Marley, a Tupac, a John Lennon, to a Miley Cyrus and a Robin Thicke.
Yeah.
News broadcasters, journalists, poets, like where you saying earlier, art in general is being kind of co-opted. And if people aren't exposed to these alternate voices, it's not even about who's right or who's wrong.
Yeah.
It's not about, you know, KRS-One is good and 50 Cent is bad. Booty shaking is you know what I'm saying, is bad. And it's about having balance and at least having that perspective for people to be able to make that choice. Right now, people are being programmed into this mentality.
And speaking on the Black Panthers, and well, I mean, that's the most popular example, because what I feel, here's the catch-22. You know, what I feel needs to happen is I have more of like the Malcolm X approach versus the MLK approach, which is simplification, but where basically the mentality is, fuck this, fuck you, I'm not even gonna fuck with this, let's build our own shit, let's make it good, and you know, we don't have to fuck with that. You know, they can be fucked up, and we're gonna take care of our own.
You basically just described my entire approach to the rap music industry and the hip hop scene in the Bay Area right now. I'm like, fuck y'all. Like, really, like, I don't give a fuck about y'all.
Right.
Y'all do what the fuck you do. I'm gonna find my own lane and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And take action.
Well, that's basically what the Black Panthers tried to do.
Yeah.
They're like, these fucking people, they're not giving us shit. They don't give a fuck about us.
Yeah.
So the only people that give a fuck about us is us.
And that's,
so let's take what we got. Let's feed some kids. Let's fucking get some education programs going.
and that's the exact opposite of the black leader in today's America. These motherfuckers are Pied Pipers. Like, no, go to school and get a college education and you can work for AT&T one day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like people that are leading black folks into subservience to the oppressor. It's the opposite of that. And, you know, obviously Black Panther was public enemy number one, not because of their militant actions, but because they were feeding poor black kids in Oakland.
Yeah. And that's scary to the man, that people, and this is, a lot of people don't understand why. Like, why would you go through all this effort to oppress people?
Yeah.
Like, you think about it, it's like, you know, these people are fucking poor. What the fuck are they going to do? Like, why even worry about them?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, it's all to maintain control.
And it circles back to what we were saying a little bit earlier. It's like people doing things knowing, you know, the implications of it. I thought about it all the time. Human life is our greatest resource. We're killing scientists, people that could be scientists, people that could really change the world, people that could build things, people that could create. We're killing them before, you know, it's a spiritual abortion before they can even come into their own lives.
Right.
People are dead, socially and mentally dead from birth. Stillborn, basically. So why are these people doing this? Don't they understand that the food is going to kill us?
Yeah.
Don't they understand that you can't lock us all up? Don't you understand that the war on drugs doesn't actually? Yeah, they understand it.
Yeah.
But the mentality is it's like it's destructive mentality, you know, and they know what they're doing to us.
Well, how can you? Well, I mean, can you even in 2014? With the way shit is, not hoping or wishing that shit was different, just taking it at face value. Is it possible to have a Black Panther-esque movement in 2014, or is that shit crushed before it even starts?
No, not that extreme. It's different time. There are people who are trying to do it.
Right.
I mean, I know some folks from the Black Rider Party in Oakland, and they say we consider ourselves the new versions of the Black Panthers. And I've actually heard Fred Hampton Jr. say, "Nah, y'all, wait, hold on, y'all can't call yourselves that. That's not who you are." And they do. Some of their stuff is very militant. They dress the part, and you know. And I'm really not trying to knock them at all.
Yeah, yeah.
If anyone happens to hear this, you know, I got lots of love for the Black Riders, and I respect the work that they do. But in this day and age, times are changing so fast, so you can't use techniques that worked in 1963 are not going to work in 2014. And they will crush you. Shit is no joke. Like, and the Black Riders are considered a hate group. I saw this in the Chronicle. They were printed as a racist hate group. I said, whoa, that's definitely not what they are. But they will crush you. They're motherfuckers that will kill you, that will incarcerate you, that will burn down your house with your family inside of it if you're really going out there and speaking this truth and mobilizing the community and I mean they might have done that revolution, that violent revolution. It might have happened. They stopped it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So and in this age where they record every phone call conversation that you have on your cell phone, where every email is read, or where all that stuff, nothing's private anymore, you don't stand a chance fighting the machine the way the Black Panthers fought it. So you have to be smart, and you have to use new techniques that fit the times. And I mean, for me, that's my music.
Yeah.
And my own form of activism.
So, just getting into like some what if scenarios, like what happens if you know, you're doing your thing, you're releasing your music, and somebody comes to you with a good offer. You know, we're gonna put out your shit, we're gonna make your shit available to the entire world, we're gonna promote you, we're gonna put you on TV, et cetera, et cetera. How do you, you know, just thinking about this from, you know, if you were to give advice to all the young artists out there, like, how do you avoid the pitfall of becoming co-opted, you know, because they play on your desire to want to reach people. And that's usually what, you know, what the hook is. And then you probably don't even realize that, you know, a year or two down the line, you're a totally different person with different values.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's something that if your personality is to be co-opted, you're going to get co-opted. If you're like me and you're a real hard head and you understand this shit, then no, you're not. I'll take it. Go ahead. Give me a deal.
Right.
I'll take it.
See what happens.
I'm not going to change my music. I'm not going to make a song with Justin Bieber. But hey, you want to give me some money and do an album with me? Fine. Let me speak my shit. I'll do it. And if you drop me, it's cool. I'll go back to the underground with way more fans than I had before, and I'll keep making my shit independent. I mean, a record contract right now, it ain't worth that very much because, I mean, there's not. I think a lot of these guys like Kendrick Lamar and a lot of other people that signed these deals could have stayed independent.
Yeah.
And would be making more money. They might not have the voice of the machine behind them, but you could still have a huge impact. So it all depends on what you want. you know, in a Kendrick Lamar type of deal where they signed his whole crew, his whole label, and they gave him so much creative control when Dr. Dre's involved. Most people ain't gonna get that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I haven't even had any contact really with record label folks. I'm working with the independent label in France right now. So that's a different world than fucking Capitol Records or something like that.
So you think it's not necessary for people to join the system in order to change it?
It's never been. And people don't realize. I'm from the Bay Area, and Bay knows what's up. We out here, we hustled because we had to, because we weren't from New York, we weren't from LA. No one was gonna give us that look. So we went out and we did. I shouldn't even be saying we, because I want to respect people like JT, the Bigger Figure, or even Master P. He's from Richmond originally.
That's true.
Cats that pressed up their own CDs and went and created their own distribution. And, you know, people like E40, before he had a record deal, E40 was close to rich from his music. Yeah. And even that, in this age where you can do everything on YouTube and the internet and Facebook and Twitter and all that, you don't need a record label. You know what I'm saying? Unless you want to be all over MTV and on the radio and all that shit, and on billboards and shit like that, then yeah, okay. But there's people, you know, like Tech-9 tours the country. He's one of the highest paid rap artists in the world. Yeah. And he's completely independent.
Here's something interesting. What I got to set this up a little bit. So, to me, the way the man works is very sneaky, you know? Changing your mind without you realizing they're changing your mind. Using, you know, by controlling narrative, by controlling the amount of information you have access to, by framing things in a particular way, even down to using subliminal imagery or messagery and all kinds of shit like that, so that you don't even realize what's happening. Is it possible to do the flip side of that and use that same technique to use these platforms against these people without them realizing that you're doing it?
Yeah, and that's something that I kind of want to start exploring more with my music. I want to start working with different types of production and getting into different forms of songwriting so that I can get chicks to shake their ass to something that's really positive and really informative. Yeah. It's just never been in my nature to make that type of music. Right. I mean, some of it, but now I think it's changing a little bit more. The beats are getting doper out here in the club, and some of these artists, a lot of artists are saying stuff with content. So yeah, I've been kind of looking into that. Like, you know, my boy A1, he always tells me, he's like, you can't just give somebody a plate full of vegetables and tell them to eat it. You got to kind of give them a spoonful of ice cream, and then you give them the broccoli too. You know, that's kind of how he puts it. And he's really good at that too, because his music is like really, it's like head nodding, and he you know, party music. He makes party music. Yeah. And he's not as political or radical as I am, but he encourages people to think freely and question things, and so he's good at that.
Introspective. Yeah. This shit is always very personal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and analytical. You know? If you haven't checked out A1, definitely check out A1. Yeah. This is the kind of shit that I love to see. We had I think it was last year, January. January is always a slow time in the clubs. It's right after the holidays. People aren't touring. You know, people aren't really going out a whole lot. So we get a little bit experimental with booking shit, you know, in January's especially. And we booked a show with I think it was the first time A1 was here. I think he was playing with Los Racas.
Oh yeah, I was at that show.
Yeah, so and it was like, and that shit was amazing. Mm-hmm. It was totally local, none of the. I mean, I don't know if Los Rocas even had like they. I don't know if they had a song on Sons of Anarchy yet. Like
Mm,
eventually they did. I don't think it was out yet, but they were just local group, all local artists, and people came out. Man, it was
yeah,
sold out. People were having a blast.
yeah,
They had the live band. Shit was sick.
yeah.
So like, okay, cool. And we book A1 again to headline.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking same shit.
Mm-hmm.
Sells the show out. The whole bay is here. Everybody's having a good time, and it's totally organic.
Yeah,
And it's like, we're lucky if a world famous like touring act comes here and sells out a show.
yeah, yeah,
So to see like, you know, local kids on their grind doing their thing, selling out a club, and people coming out and having a great time and championing it,
yeah,
like to me that's some of the most amazing, the most rewarding shit.
yeah.
Is
Definitely.
like, it's a dime a dozen to have like, a band that's on MTV come and sell out a show here, whatever,
Yeah,
but to have some people homegrown who, came up like, a few blocks away, getting that attention, getting that action happening out there it's inspiring, and it shows you that you can make some shit happen. You can
yeah.
mobilize people. You can, you know, it's not just this corporate machine. Like
Well,
there's something that exists outside of that.
shit, man. I hope my show sells out now. You just,
Shit, man.
it's just
Saturday, June 7th.
pressure's on now. I gotta sell out because Los Rocas A1
Yeah,
did it.
yeah.
Fuck.
But no, I mean, I
No,
I,
but
I love it when the community comes out, and
yeah,
it's
I
not
feel
just
you.
like, oh, community. It's like, we're
Yeah,
going to have a good time, and this is where we're going to do it.
yeah. I mean, the Los Rocas, they're huge. I mean, they're really talented cats. They make great music that's completely original and unique. But they really fuck with Oakland.
Yeah,
They really
yeah,
got shit sold up in Oakland, and they really fuck with the Latino community. The
yeah,
Latino community has their back. A1, man, I mean, I've known A1 for years, and he just kind of like a Frisco cat, where
yeah,
a lot of people know him outside of rapping is Adam. Oh, it's Adam.
yeah,
It's the type of cat you go somewhere with him and you see some, oh, y'all know each other too? And,
yeah,
um, and then that was like, he was headliner, and he definitely, he brought a lot of people out, but it was also me, Nate, and Say Knowledge on that
yeah.
bill. And I think for people to see all of us together,
Right.
that were like, oh shit, like
Yeah,
definitely, um, but so for my show, I'm hoping to draw on the community like in a real way. Like I've been talking to a lot of youth.
uh-huh.
I've been going to a lot of community organizations and talking to people in college and high school, and I want to get them involved. And I mean, so far people sound really excited about it. The buzz is kind of picking up. I'm hearing a lot of good things from people. Of course, I'm never gonna be satisfied until I get that
Yeah,
call
yeah.
like, "Yo, we just sold out" or whatever.
Right, right.
Or even if it don't sell out, what so what? Even if
Yeah,
it's half the size of this room, that's great. You feel me?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but yeah, I think it takes something special. You can't just be a rapper and just a regular rapper
yeah.
and mobilize people like that. It has to come with something bigger than just you.
And I love the way that, especially in the Bay, uh, a lot of young artists, especially in the hip hop world, they're on that grind. They're out there, marketing themselves. They're
Yeah,
out there. To me, one of the coolest things about that A1 show, and you were involved in this as well, is when he did freestyle session
yeah, yeah,
videos with everybody,
yeah,
sitting on the couch in various
yeah.
locations.
Yeah,
That was
and
awesome,
that's another thing too. Was like like I said, he was the main draw that night. He looked out for us and put us
Right, yeah,
on and built a really good lineup. And yeah, he's got the whole team that he works with, Woo Star and my boy Lawrence and everybody else involved. They're really creative and they all work together. They all collaborate well. Um, And that's something that I never really quite had, is a full-fledged team. I've always I'm Dregs One. I've always, you know what
Right.
I'm saying? I got a crew, Gas Mask Colony, but that's not really in motion anymore. That was more childhood friends.
Yeah.
Um, so my shit is unique. So I'm still trying to figure out how I can stay true to me and do me and still get to the platform that I want to get to.
Yeah.
And I've, part of this show that I'm doing is understanding that my stuff is ultimately tied to community
Yeah.
and tied to activism. So when I get it ingrained in people's heads that when you support me, you're not just supporting me, you're
Yeah.
supporting something bigger, I think that's what's going to help. I don't want to make the most money. I just want to get heard. I do this really to inspire people and for my own self-expression. So I want the audience more than I want the money that comes from the audience,
Well, there's something that a lot of young cats don't understand is, and I think the corporatized hip hop has something to do with this actually, is that our culture has become so selfish and so self-absorbed in a lot of ways. And it's sort of a byproduct of, like the flossy hip hop shit where, you're talking about all the shit you got and, it's very like self-serving and self-aggrandizing. Even though I think it's a little bit deeper than that. But the point that I'm trying to make is a lot of times you get the best results for yourself by doing something for somebody else.
Yeah.
That comes back at you, in many different ways. A lot of people ask me like, why are you up on this podcast talking, telling people to go to the DNA lounge or, shit like that, or, go to Bottom of the Hill, or isn't that your competition? It's like, we're all doing the same thing. If people are out going to clubs and going to shows and having a good time, that's good for all of us, and that's the same mentality that, with those videos where A1 was the headliner, but he made it a point to make sure everybody knew about these other motherfuckers that are on the bill.
And that's just smart too.
And then all those people are going to be, they're going to, when it comes time to say, if someone approaches them saying, I need you to introduce me to someone who's big in the hip hop community in San Francisco, like, I guarantee you, like, at least 90% of those people are going to be like, A1, because of that goodwill that he put out there,
That's part of it.
That shit, I mean, part of it, but it's that mentality that it's not just about you.
It's like I said, that's just the type of dude he is. He's just known in Frisco because he's a social dude. He's nice.
Yeah.
He's charismatic. He's just a real ass dude. You know what I'm saying?
And that extends to all aspects of your life, Yeah. You gotta not just big up yourself all the time, like and a lot of times it's easier to big up somebody else.
It's hard though too, because it's a fine line. That expression, a friend to all is a friend to none. And I feel like in hip hop, there's almost too much of that, where it's like, oh yeah, that's my boy. Oh, that's my boy. Oh man, nah, that's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might like my music, or you might, I might like yours. Does that mean when 50 dudes about to jump me, you about to hop in there and start swinging?
Right.
And then the thing is too, is like a lot of whack shit gets condoned. See, that's why I be saying A1's like Malcolm. A1's Martin, I'm Malcolm. Cause I'm not with a lot of shit. I'm not saying that he is, but I just go hard. Right. I'm like, I'm not gonna dap you up if you're whack.
Yeah.
If your music's whack, I might fuck around and tell you you're whack, and I might not say it that way.
Right.
I might say it nicer. I might not. I might just be like, nah, people who know me know I've done this before, but like, you ain't doing it.
Right.
And there's a lot of whack shit and there's a lot of negative shit. I'm not with, man, these cats that promote pimping and Molly and lean and syrup and
Right.
all this and pimping bitches and all this shit. I'm not with that, man. And I'm also not with cats that do hip hop, but you don't have any connection to the hood whatsoever. This music started in the hood, but you want to go and act like you're hip hop the fuck out, but you don't never leave Berkeley. You know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. I'm not like, I'm very friendly and I'm cool. I'm not a dick. I'm not a disrespectful cat. I don't carry myself with a lot of ego.
Right.
But at the same time, like I'm not, a lot of this rap shit is a popularity contest. And I'm not with that. There's a lot of asses out there, especially in the Bay. People feel entitled to getting their ass kissed. I'm just different, man. And, I don't know, sometimes it's a bad thing for me and sometimes it's good, you know? It's good because it's like I stand out. It's bad because I might conflict with some people sometimes, or I might be perceived as, oh, that's Dregs. He's gonna fucking tell you to eat organic, and you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, but rap is definitely on some popularity contest shit, and I don't fuck with that.
What do you think about, like, a lot of the times in hip hop, there's like the authenticity debate. And you mentioned people talking about some hood shit and have never been to the hood or don't live in the hood, or, you know, that's just not their reality.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're kind of fronting in a way.
Or not even that, just not even like you do hip hop, but you're scared of black people.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Or like you do hip hop, but you know, you get what I'm saying. Like you're either fronting like you're on some hood shit, or you're just like ignoring the hood, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not paying any homage to the pioneers or to the struggle. You know.
What do you think about people who sort of do it in a more like, or at least they claim that, and you hear this coming a lot from people who may be considered posers, but where they're saying I'm not necessarily talking about me. I'm telling a story.
Yeah.
I'm portraying a character, and this is real life for some people, but to me it's just, you know, I'm telling a story. I'm creating a narrative for people.
Well, it's just like, how well can you tell that story? How well can you tell that story if you've never even known anybody that was in that life? How are you qualified to tell that story?
And how effective is it going to be having someone who only half understands the shit putting that, you know, misconstrued reality out there?
And is it made clear that once you step out of the mic booth, you're a different person? You know, I mean, with Rick Ross or someone like that, who's correctional officer, his raps are story raps, but he doesn't. He goes to the club with goons and guns and smokes hella blunts and pours money on girls and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And drives around in a bulletproof car. You're not just telling a story; you're selling an entire image. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're trying to make people believe that this is you. Yeah. It's not like you're Slick Rick telling a bedtime story.
Exactly. Or it's just some shit that's so off the wall, you know, like, yeah, of course this motherfucker ain't murdering everybody.
Right, yeah.
Or even, you know, this thing with Eminem and his talking about killing his wife. That's kind of some sick shit that he, you know, but I feel like that was his way of expressing. That was a really creative way of expressing the pain that relationship had caused him. I don't necessarily agree with it now.
Right.
But, you know, that's an example of creative storytelling.
There's something else that to me is like a weird thing. Oh yeah. And we're gonna wrap this up in a minute here. But I don't know. It's, to me, with hip hop and the whole aspect of it that is focused on authenticity and keeping it real, and the fact that this is what sort of allows people to gain this stigmatized understanding of a community. What I mean, where is the line? Like, if you've lived negativity in your life and that's what you have experienced, should you strive to create something that is beyond that? Or is there some value in, if you literally are a pimp and you've made your money and survived by being a pimp, is it negative to go out there and talk to people about that?
Not at all. Because it's real, it's honest, and it needs to be heard, I mean, one of my favorite rappers is Sugar Free.
Right. Oh, for sure.
Funny enough, people will think I only listen to KRS-One and Chuck D. No. Like I like Sugar Free because it's some real shit. He doesn't just talk about the fly shit.
No.
He talks about going to jail.
Yeah.
He got songs about how his dad was abusive and kind of caused him to feel this way. He talks about how it feels to beat up a girl. You know what I'm saying? Like that's nothing nice, and it's real, and it's that's the expression of his soul, or as opposed to, some corny ass, big pimping, or I'm a motherfucking PIMP or whatever.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You're not out there like you're not qualified to speak on that, man. That's just fake. That's just not. It's harmful,
Yeah.
But as opposed to raw expression that sounds good musically and is telling an honest story, that's beautiful to me.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's you can talk about negativity, you can talk about dark shit, and have it not be reinforcing a bunch of like how do you put it, like destructive shit.
And what I said earlier, like negativity is part of life. We live in a very harsh society, in a harsh world. It's part of life. Accept it and learn about it, understand it, and that's how we can grow from it.
For sure. All right, y'all. Thanks again for tuning in. Big thanks to Dregs One for coming down and laying some knowledge on us. We got to do this again sometime, man. There's so much more shit we could have talked about.
Definitely. I thought that was only like, I'd only been here for like an hour. That flew by.
But everybody be sure to come down to Slim's on Saturday, June 7th. We got Dregs One is the headliner. I don't have who else is playing. Who else is playing on that bill?
We got my folks, Even Odds, a long time San Francisco independent hustlers. We got Legends Live Forever. They're a strong crew coming out of the Fillmore. And then we got my brothers Telly Prego, Heat, and Big Vic, all solid MCs. Live art by Joker, Children of the Funk, and DJ Sean G will be on the ones and twos. And there will be a lot of special guests in the house, some of which I may or may not have named during this podcast. And my big homie Equipto is going to host the whole thing.
All right. That's Saturday, June 7th. Go to our website, slimspresents.com. You can find tickets there. Follow Dregs One. His site is dregs1.com. You're at Dregs One on Twitter, right?
Yeah, Dregs _1. ONE.
And, check his shit out. Go check out his mixtapes. It's good shit. Support local music. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another episode. Every Wednesday on the Slims Presents blog. You can follow us on iTunes. Subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on Stitcher. Of course, we're on YouTube. And follow us on Twitter at BYMJ Podcast. And thanks again to Dregs One for coming down.
Thank you, Chris.
And good night.
Well, and I think landlords use the opportunity of Twitter moving in to definitely try to get more out of their tenants. And I mean, we're talking even like the existing kind of sandwich shops and donut shops or whatever that were all around there. Suddenly their landlords were jacking up the rent because they're like, oh, well, there are all these Twitter people around now. And, well, like, maybe those people didn't go to donut shops and didn't go to sandwich shops because they had their nice Twitter cafe in the office.
Yeah, because there were no Edison bulbs in the donut shop.
Right, yeah. But I think the other thing, too, is that... whether or not these places are necessarily good, I mean, it's hard to say whether these places are good or bad, but one thing that does happen when you have a space like mid-market that's sort of blighted or neglected in a city is that it tends to be a place that artists come in and remake it. Those empty storefronts and those empty warehouses and apartment buildings are spaces where artists can open, clubs or galleries or, whatever underground kind of spaces or live for cheap and do work that they wouldn't otherwise necessarily be able to do.
The irony is a lot of people move to San Francisco because of the culture that it's known for. And people have this idea of what San Francisco represents in their mind and all the history. And I'd say the vast majority of people, maybe pre-current tech boom, I would say the majority of people move to San Francisco to find themselves. They didn't move here for a job or a career or anything like that. They moved here because they felt like they could experience something here that would resonate with them, a place that they could feel comfortable exploring themselves and finding out who they were.
You had a sense when you moved to San Francisco that the city could affect you or change you or open your mind to new things in a way that very, very few other places could. That sort of anything was possible in some sense here. And now, it's a very different place now. And it is there's that irony that a lot of people moving in here, I think, want the culture. They move here because of the culture. And certainly a lot of the employees of the major tech firms that are located down on the peninsula in Silicon Valley, they want to live in San Francisco and be bussed down there because they see San Francisco as being a more vibrant, lively place than those suburbs. And the irony is that I feel like San Francisco is becoming more and more like downtown Palo Alto every day.
Yeah.